Hi, my name is Elizabeth Vickers, and I'm here to present to you Stage 2 of my signature project. Let's look at the problem that we'll be addressing and the purpose of the study. The study will address poor student achievement in reading in low-income schools in the state of Alabama in comparison to more affluent schools. The purpose of this study is to investigate the impact of high-stake testing on student reading achievement in two different schools. Let's examine a little bit of background information about the state of Alabama. The state of Alabama historically and currently has found itself significantly far behind in reading proficiency. Data gathered from standardized testing determines this information, and more specifically, students who attend schools that are predominantly minority as well as low income don't find success towards proficiency, with most of the assessments causing their students to receive a failing status. This project will be conducted to analyze the data of student achievement on the 2018-2019 Scantron Performance Assessment in an affluent school, which we'll call School A, and a low-income school, which we'll call School B. The two schools examined are within the same county but in different school districts. I wanted to take a look at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade reading results on the Scantron Performance Series from the previous year, 2017-2018, based on ethnicity. More specifically, let's take a look at Caucasian students' proficiency. We can see that's 60.3% proficiency, while African American students were only performing at 30.5% proficiency in the 3rd grade. And you can see those results are very similar in the 4th grade. Once again in 5th grade. Now let's take a look at the demographics of both schools we'll be examining. I just wanted to point out a few things about School A. School A has a significant Caucasian population. You can see that 82% of those students are Caucasian, while the largest minority group are African Americans, which is 12% of the school. Let's look at 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade at School B, the lower income school that's being examined. You can see that in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, more than half of the students are of a minority background. 3rd grade, you can see, has 62% students that are considered a minority, 67% in 4th grade, and then 66% in 5th grade. So once again, very different schools demographically. You'll also notice that both these schools are very different demographically as far as socioeconomic status, based on students who receive free and reduced lunch in the 2018-2019 school year. For School A, once again, the affluent school, only 6% of those students receive free and reduced lunch. That's 67 students out of 1,123 students. While 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, you can see half of the students in each grade level, or over half of the students in each grade level, receive free and reduced lunch. Now let's take a look at 3rd grade percentages based on their achievement in the Scantron Performance Assessment. Here you'll see School B, and you'll see that they have a significant amount of students that are far below grade level. If we look here at School A, you can see that students who are economically disadvantaged also have a significant amount of students far below grade level. Less than half, but fairly close to half. But you'll also notice that there's a large population of students that are above average in both the economically disadvantaged School A, and you'll see here the Caucasian students at School A and the African American students in School in School A, all have above average reading proficiency. Once again, keep in mind the demographics of these schools. Also wanted to point out the similarities of the percentages between the African American students in School A and the Caucasian students in School A. Their charts look very similar. Their percentages are very similar and very close. Okay, now let's take a look at 4th grade. Let's look at School B here in the left-hand corner. You can see that their average high students are comparable to School A's average high students. So around the 30% average range for Caucasian students, economically disadvantaged students, African American students. Also, the average low students are very similar in percentages. Here in School A, I wanted to point out the students that were considered far below proficiency for School A is very similar to the African American data from School A for 4th grade and the data for School B. So a large percentage, around 20% average students that are far below, while the Caucasian students in School A are only at 5%. Okay, let's look at 5th grade. Let's take a look at 5th grade students and how they compare School B and School A. Okay, we can see a significant amount of above average students in School A in 5th grade. Let's look at like the Caucasian students in School A and then the African American students. You can see that there's only 12% of those students considered above average, but a significant amount that are average high. And if we're looking at the economically disadvantaged, we can see that those percentages are very similar. However, there's a significant amount of above average students in the economically disadvantaged group from School A as well. If we're looking at School B, we'll see another more data showing a significant amount of students far below grade level in reading. And then from School A, the data from School A between the African American students, the Caucasian students, and the economically disadvantaged, very low percentages in the far below category compared to School B. Let's take a look at the impact on student achievement that state testing has. After experiences working in economically disadvantaged schools that had a 50% population of African American students and non-economically disadvantaged students with only 8% of the population was African American, it was very apparent the major differences in student achievement in reading. While schools that have a small population of African American students have almost all students performing at or above grade level, schools where most students are African American families are performing below grade level, rather than at or above. Just like we saw looking at the demographics at both schools. Let's take a look at the action plan and the sampling method. All teachers in 3rd through 5th grade at both schools were asked to participate in a survey. The goal would be that all the teachers at both schools would participate. This would fully support the claim that low-income socioeconomic background as well as ethnic background correlates with low test scores. If all don't participate, the next part of the research plan would be to ensure that 50% of the teachers from each grade level and school have participated in the survey. Due to COVID-19, School A could not provide data in a manner that suited the project at this time. School B was able to complete the survey, therefore the data was gathered from other digital sources as the information is available on the internet to match the survey questions. So originally the survey was to be sent to 3rd through 5th grade teachers, given information specifically about their classroom, the students in their classroom, demographic backgrounds, socioeconomic status, which would just include how many students receive free and reduced lunch, and where there's what categories, what percentages of students scored far below, average low, average high, or above average on the Scantron Performance Series. Some ethical considerations we would have to take into consideration or threats that might include students that receive accommodations due to an individual education plan. Students may not have taken that assessment with their class or may have received support. The survey won't specify how many students that are on IEPs. Classroom teachers from School A and School B will use the data from recent performance series assessments to complete the survey. After the surveys are completed, averages will be compared by grade level based on the following criteria, where students place according to Scantron Performance Series and reading. When comparing test scores from both schools, all 3 grade level percentages show a correlation in economically disadvantaged category. In one of the 3 grade levels, African Americans scored correlated with socioeconomic disadvantaged students. In order to retrieve more accurate data relative to student achievement, I could analyze 2 districts in the same city as opposed to 2 schools in the same city. I might also send a survey about support at the school and the district level, as well as teachers' years of experience. This will help to better know if teachers have a clear understanding of what they should be teaching. Here you'll find the resources I use to gather data. AL.com was a source, greatschools.org, and the link to the school surveys.